الصوت واضح. الصوت واضح دكتور.
الصوت واضح؟ أوكي.
واضح.
بس بدنا ننتظر شوية معلش لبين ما البقية يجوا.
أوكي. ماشي.
أرجو الصبر. Okay. If you don't mind, we're going to start now. And today we are having Professor Hani Hayajneh, who is the UNESCO Chair for Cultural Heritage, Intangible Cultural Heritage, of course, and at Yarmouk University. And he's going to talk to us as an introduction to the workshop on intangible cultural heritage, about the convention and about the intangible cultural heritage in Jordan. So please, Dr. Hani, تفضل.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I have great pleasure to be among you today or before you. As Dr. Talal Al-Akash has just mentioned, I'm going to talk about the convention, the UNESCO Convention for Safeguarding Intangible Cultural Heritage. And well, as UNESCO expert and facilitator for this convention, I will be more than happy to share you my experience, but I would like to start with an introduction about the convention, 2003 Convention for Safeguarding Intangible Cultural Heritage. As you see on the screen, we have two PowerPoint presentations in Arabic and English. Well, we can, change, between Arabic and English. And if you have any questions, please interrupt me whenever you want. As if you have an inquiry or any question, please let me know. You can raise your question either in Arabic or English, but because some of the participants are non-Arabic speakers, I prefer to speak in English. And you will see the translation of the same slide on the same screen. I think that you see both slides in Arabic and English, in both versions. Is that true? Just let me know, please. Dr. Talal.
Just English.
Until now,
just English.
We see the English.
Okay.
Only the title.
Yes, the title, but because I thought that I have shared the screen. I have two versions, and I thought that
I cannot see
okay.
the Arabic part.
Okay, yes, maybe, I don't know. Now you see the Arabic part?
Yes, now,
okay.
Now
you have
only Arabic.
Oh, so, well, no problem. I will.
You can shift from one to the other, I think.
Yes, but well, for those who would like to see the text in Arabic, I prefer to have them both on the screen. Okay, I will share now the English version. And if you have any question, please let me know. I don't know, I have no idea how to share, both the PowerPoint presentation on the same screen. Okay. Well, this convention in Jordan has ratified the convention, this convention in 2006, and it has been, it has entered into execution in 2003. And Jordan belongs to the first countries which ratified the convention in 2006. Well, this convention, we will discuss the purpose of the convention and the organs of this convention, and how two lists and the register are working, and the mechanism for inscribing intangible cultural heritage elements on the two lists and the register. And this convention has its own operational directives and its ICH fund. ICH is an abbreviation for Intangible Cultural Heritage, And this convention shows the obligations and the benefits. Until now, we have more than 180 countries and state parties of this convention that have ratified this convention. Yeah, as I just mentioned, I've just mentioned that Jordan belongs to the first countries. I mean, the first 60 countries that ratified this convention. I mean, as you know, the UNESCO, UNESCO and its convention, intergovernmental organization with 195 member states. It deals with 5 sectors: education, natural sciences, social and the human sciences, including culture and communication and information. Regarding the culture and heritage, we have 7 UNESCO conventions: tangible, intangible, and natural heritage. We have another one for diversity and cultural expressions, in addition to the 3rd one on copyrights. There are 3 UNESCO conventions on culture and heritage: convention concerning protection of the world cultural and natural heritage, which we call it, اتفاقية 1972, 1972, and the Convention for Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, 2003. In addition to the Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. All these conventions are ratified by Jordan, they are now implemented in Jordan. As for the 2003 convention, the Ministry of Culture established a directorate in 2010 to take care of this convention and to implement this convention, because according to the operational directives in this convention, every state party, each state party should have, a unit or an administrative unit which will take care of this convention and its implementation. Now I think that some of my colleagues from the Department of Heritage at the Ministry of Culture are present here, and they are going to talk about this maybe later in later workshops. Now, I would like to give a general comparison between the World Heritage 1972 Convention and the UNESCO 2003 Convention on Intangible Cultural Heritage. The 1972 Convention deals with conservation of World Heritage properties and cultural and or natural heritage. It depends on the outstanding universal value of the tangible heritage elements, but this doesn't exist in the 2003 convention. And the authenticity and integrity helps to define value, often restricting change. But we have, on the other hand, the intangible cultural heritage. It deals with safeguarding of all ICH expressions, skills, practices, and knowledge, and also deals with culture and or social heritage. According to the value concerned, it is the responsibility of the communities to define the value. It's not, because we are dealing with intangible cultural heritage. It's a living heritage, and the communities are the main element, and the main player in this concern to define the value of the ICH elements. And as you know, the intangible cultural heritage, it changes over time, while the tangible heritage doesn't change. In addition, we have the diversity of cultural expressions, the UNESCO 2005 convention. It deals with cultural activities, goods and services, including products. It deals also with cultural expressions. They are often new and individual creations, and it focuses on cultural industries and dissemination and development. While on the other hand, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention, it focuses on skills, practices, expressions, and knowledge, and also deals with ICH as a collective practice transmitted from generation to generation, and focuses on safeguarding practices and transmission of ICH. Well, until this point, I don't know if you have any questions, please. You can raise your questions if you want regarding the difference between the three conventions. Okay, if there is no question, let us move on. I mean, the convention, it has a preamble and it has, you know, its purposes, the purposes of the convention. It has definitions and organs, in addition to the rules of safeguardings on the national level. It deals also with the lists and two lists and register. I think we are going to tackle this issue later because it's one of the main important aspects of this convention. While you know, state parties are competing and struggling for inscribing intangible cultural heritage elements on the lists, on the two lists and the register. I mean, the two lists, one of them is called the representative list and the other one is called the urgent safeguarding list. And also the convention and its operational directives, focus more and more on the international cooperation and assistance. In addition to the ICH fund, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund, from which the state parties can apply for international assistance to draw safeguarding plans for certain intangible cultural heritage. Well, it deals also with reporting. I mean, every 6 years, every state party should submit a periodic report about the projects and also the implementation activities of intangible cultural heritage in the state party. The last articles are dealing with the ratification, but Jordan has already ratified the convention and it's not one of our main issues. Well, Article 1 of the convention tackles the issue of safeguarding. You know, we use the word safeguarding, but not preservation, neither preservation nor conservation, because we are dealing with the living heritage, and our main task is to safeguard this heritage and its social function within the communities. I mean, the communities, groups and individuals are changing, and also their intangible cultural heritage manifestations are also changing through the time and space. It also, I mean, the second objective of the convention is the respect. I mean, how this convention, establishes sort of respect among communities, groups, and individuals, not only on the local level and the state level, but also on the regional and on the international levels. Also awareness and mutual appreciation. I mean, how this convention contribute to establishing a sort of mutual appreciations, again, not only among communities concerned on the territory of a certain state party, but also on the regional and the international levels. As for the international cooperation and assistance, this is an important issue because, certain countries, especially rich countries, contribute to the fund of the convention to safeguard intangible cultural heritage elements in other countries, in other state parties. For example, Japan, Norway, and other rich countries, are usually pay more than other countries to the ICH fund at the UNESCO. So they support, financially different safeguarding projects or inventorying. For example, now there is a project, that has been implemented 1 year ago in Yemen, Egypt, Sudan, and I think in Lebanon as well, to safeguard intangible cultural heritage elements, either through inventorying of ICH elements or any other, or establishing projects related to awareness raising and other issues that contribute to safeguarding intangible cultural heritage. As I mentioned, there are two lists of the convention. The first one is the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, which we usually abbreviate as RL. And the other one, the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding, and we abbreviate it as USL. Well, for example, this is a collective fishing right of the Sanke. Well, the Sankemon collective fishing rights take place annually in the Sigo region of Mali to mark the beginning of the rainy season and commemorate the founding of the town of Sand. I mean, in recent years, fewer people have attended the rite because of diminishing awareness of its function and history, occasional accidents, and the degradation of Sankey Lake. I mean, intangible cultural heritage, it doesn't rise, from nothing, but it needs a cultural space to remain living, And this, for example, this element was inscribed in 2009. I mean, if you ask me about Jordan, we have now on the representative list the cultural space of Bidu in Petra and Wadi Ram. It was adopted in 2009 into the representative list, and 2 years ago Jordan succeeded in inscribing one of the performing arts in Jordan, which is called a Samer. A Samer as a performing art, and now the Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Hello? Do you hear me, please?
Yes, yes, but please raise your voice. Come closer a bit to the microphone.
Yes, I will try more. Yeah. Well, I was here, when I was talking about the success, Jordan's success in inscribing so far two intangible cultural heritage elements. Do you hear me now better? Okay. Hello.
Yes, Dr. Hani, yes.
Yes, okay. Now we have as I mentioned, we have a Samer in Jordan. The Samer in Jordan is, one of the famous performing arts in Jordan. And we were very happy that we succeeded in inscribing this element into the representative list. Now the Jordanian government, including, the Ministry of Culture, is planning for new inscriptions on the representative list and maybe on the urgent safeguarding list. The tango, tango is very well known to everybody of you. As you know, the tango is a symbol of the popular culture of Argentina and Uruguay, especially their capital cities, originating in a working class neighborhood of Buenos Aires and Montevideo. The tango dates back to the late 19th century. By the way, if we are talking about intangible cultural heritage, we are dealing with a living heritage, as if we take a picture of the current day intangible cultural heritage. The value of intangible cultural heritage is defined by the current communities, not by the old communities, or because we are not taking care of the integrity and the authenticity of intangible cultural heritage. The convention doesn't pay a lot of attention to those aspects, integrity and authenticity, because every community, every country in the world now contains different communities that they are, they hail from different cultures and from different countries. And it's not a matter of of discussing the origins of certain intangible cultural heritage. If we take care, if we would like, if we wish to implement the convention, then we have to inventory every single ICH element in the country itself. We are not selective here. We should pay attention to the inclusiveness of intangible cultural heritage, not to pay any attention to the origins of this community or this ethnicity. This is not a matter of, it's a matter of, I mean, this convention respects all communities, respects all groups and individuals who are living in a certain country within a territory. And if we implement the convention, we should take care of all communities in this country. Not to be selective, we have to be inclusive, because it is the cultural diversity can be also enhanced by this by the intangible cultural heritage, and also the intangible cultural heritage can be also get more value for the communities because it's diverse. And we are lucky in Jordan to have a diverse communities and diverse groups who have different cultural backgrounds, different languages, different habits, and also customs. We were talking about the representative list of intangible cultural heritage. There's one list. It's not a list, in fact, it's called Register of Good Safeguarding Practices. I mean, for example, a museum in Posul in Spain, school museum in Posul, guided by the teachers, children explore the rich heritage of Elshib by walking with tradition bearers and documenting their heritage. I mean, we can also support and help children to take care of their intangible cultural heritage. I would like to mention here that Venezuela, 10 years ago, they resorted to students to inventory their intangible cultural heritage. They established, a network of teachers who they were trained how to inventory intangible cultural heritage on the basis of communities, and those teachers taught their children, taught the students, so that they could have been able to document intangible cultural heritage elements from their own communities. Because, as you know, schools are school children, school boys, or school girls, they are coming from different backgrounds, and that's why Venezuela succeeded in inventorying its intangible cultural heritage through the students and the schools, and this could be also implemented in Jordan if we wish. Well, the organs of the convention, maybe as other conventions, we have the so-called General Assembly. It is the sovereign body of the convention. All state parties are members in this convention. I think we have now we have 180 state parties. It's a universal convention. I mean, the convention succeeded to convince, countries to ratify it. I think the UNESCO. I mean, I think if it's compared with the 1972 convention, I think this the 2003 convention got its members, very quickly. I mean, if we say 2006 and we are having now more than 180 or 180 states, I think it's becoming universal. This convention is becoming universal, and which means that communities, groups, and individuals in each state party are yearning to have such an instrument which can take care of their intangible cultural heritage. Well, the General Assembly, as said, is the main assembly where all state parties convene every 2 years in Paris, usually. We have also the Intergovernmental Committee. It contains 24 member states, and it's responsible for the implementation of the convention. And as you know, the 24 member states, they are elected according to the electoral groups. I mean, Jordan belonged to the 5B group, and we were, once in the Intergovernmental Committee. And we also were, involved in evaluating intangible culture, evaluating nomination files to be listed on the urgent safeguarding list or on the representative list. But for the secretariat, the secretary, it serves the organs, both organs, and assists in implementing the convention. The secretariat is based on the headquarters in Paris, but it deals with all countries that have ratified the convention, and also deals with the implementation workshops that are related to the implementation, inventorying, community-based inventorying, nomination. We have different training modules, and they are in fact increasing. Now we have a new one, a new module on gender and intangible cultural heritage, which is very important even for our communities in Jordan. The operational directives, which is abbreviated to OD, it guides the implementation of the convention and includes regulations and procedures for lists, register, and fund, as well as reporting obligations. Well, as for reporting, as I said, we usually had a traditional way of reporting every 6 years, and I was involved in 2 periodic reportings for Jordan. And now we have a new method of reporting, which is based on, on electronic, basis. In fact, we had 3 weeks ago, we had a very intensive course in periodic reporting. The UNESCO has organized this workshop, and I was part of this workshop, and where the facilitators, like me, should deal with the focal points in the country. Here we have the Ministry of Culture, and we have now a focal point at the Ministry of Culture, which should deal with me and the UNESCO, so that we can produce a very successful periodic report. Well, the operational directives also are prepared by the committee. What the committee is, the Intergovernmental Committee, and the committee recommends its, submits its recommendations to be approved by the General Assembly. This is a bureaucratic procedure. And the first set of approved, the first set of operational directives were approved in 2008. That was in Istanbul. No, it was not in Istanbul. I forgot where. Later on, the operational directives were, modified, amended, because in every conference for the Intergovernmental Committee, the operational directives are usually amended or changed, or certain elements are added. Certain paragraphs are added or enlarged. And the date here, 2014, is old, but we have the last amendment and enlargement was in the last year. And next month we have the 15th Intergovernmental Committee will convene in Paris. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be in Sri Lanka, but because of the pandemic, they changed the venue of the conference in Paris. Well, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund, maybe this is very important for us in Jordan, as because we are not a rich country. That's why we can resort to the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund. Unfortunately, very little, very little projects were submitted to the fund, to the UNESCO, to get money from the fund. Including Jordan. Jordan didn't succeed yet to apply for such a fund. This fund, mainly supports safeguarding, inventory making, and capacity building. And during the last 11 years, I was part of the support through workshops, training workshops in the Arab region, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, the Gulf countries, Yemen, Egypt. This is it has enriched my experience in this regard. The Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund also contributes as said, to the safeguarding of not only on the state level, but maybe two states can also cooperate together to inventory intangible cultural heritage that are, shared on the borders. Maybe, if we say Syria and Jordan, we have long borders. Of course, communities are distributed. The same communities are distributed on both sides of the borders. And I mean, the more we have, cooperation with other countries, then we have better choice. I mean, we have better chances to get the fund and to get support for our projects. Well, as said, the state parties contribute to the fund. Jordan pays its fees to this fund yearly, but some states, of course, they are, especially rich countries, they make additional contributions. I would like to mention here, for example, United Arab Emirates which has supported the different, projects in the Arab region. And every country, every supporting country, I mean, which pays more, I mean, to implement certain projects in certain regions, can also draw conditions on the UNESCO, where to spend this money, and how to spend this money. Well, state parties may request financial assistance singly or jointly. As said, one state can submit a kind of financial assistance either alone or either singly or with another country or with other communities. But communities cannot deal because there's no channel between communities concerned and the state parties with the UNESCO directly. As we know, the UNESCO is a governmental organization, and this organization deals with also governments. And some communities may also establish certain projects, through their members, and they can submit their application and they submit their file to the Ministry of Culture, to the government. And the government can also, through the Jordanian National Commission, JONATCOM, they can submit it to the UNESCO directly. And I urge, also non-governmental organizations to do that. Non-governmental organizations that have good experience, that have a good if they have a good profile, they can also apply for support from the fund. As said, few requests for assistance received so far, especially from the electoral group 5B, which includes Jordan, of course. If I say 5B, it means, the Arab countries and including Jordan. And I hope that we will be able in the near future to submit a request for international assistance. For the benefit of our intangible cultural heritage, for the benefit of our, communities, groups, and individuals. Well, I repeat always communities, groups, and individuals, and I may also define these trinity, shortly. Well, this is, this is an exercise which is not, important here. But, because the convention is very flexible, they, usually use phrases that are not, strict, or a little bit not that strict, So, for example, state parties shall do that and that, state parties undertake that and that, or state parties shall endeavor to do that and that. The obligation of state parties to the convention, the first obligation is safeguarding intangible cultural heritage on their territories. This is attested in Article 11A in the convention. And I may also share you the text of the convention. I will send it to Dr. Talan, and he can also send the link to all of you, so that you have a general idea about the convention, and also about the elements that have been inscribed so far. Of course, the safeguarding ICH on the territory is the main priority for not protection, not conservation, not preservation. Because safeguarding, it means that we keep the element living, within a social, spatial, and cultural context. Because if we conduct any projects that lead to freezing intangible cultural heritage, it means that we are not anymore dealing with living heritage. It is frozen, And our main concern is to keep this intangible cultural heritage sustainable and durable to be transmitted to future generations. To establish good mechanism for safeguarding, especially in the context of a globalized world. We have to be prepared. Because we cannot prepare the future for our generations, for the generations. We have to prepare the young generations for the future, as we will not be able to prepare the future for the generations. Well, this convention also, expects that communities should participate in identifying, defining, and managing their intangible cultural heritage. It lies a great importance on the communities, because the communities are the custodians of their intangible cultural heritage. And they know how to safeguard it, and they know how to deal with it, and they know its secrets, because it's their responsibility. And that's why in the inventorying workshops that we have dealt with, we always concentrate on the communities and the members of these communities, so that they contribute. Maybe they can give advice to us as a government or as stakeholders how to safeguard cultural heritage, because they know its conditions, its setting, and its the requirements for a successful safeguarding. Well, the third obligation, they use the obligations, draw up on inventories of intangible cultural heritage in their territory. They are repeating, the UNESCO Convention repeats the word territory. If we have a shared intangible cultural heritage in other countries, for example, in Saudi Arabia, or in Iraq, or in Palestine, or in Syria, then we are not allowed to in cultural heritage elements, even if they are shared with our communities. We are not allowed to deal with this intangible cultural heritage if we don't have a cooperation together. We can, establish projects of inventorying within a cooperative context, for example, with other countries, and those countries should not be bordered. To have borders with these countries, either ICH elements that are shared on borders, or if we have similar intangible cultural heritage elements that are, for example, known in other countries with which we have no borders. There are a lot of elements, for example, the Lebanese immigrants who are now living in Venezuela, for example. Lebanon and Venezuela, communities, Lebanese communities in Venezuela and Lebanon, and the communities in Lebanon, they can also, submit a nomination file of a certain intangible cultural heritage that exists in Venezuela and Lebanon, because it's a similar, element, and it could be also enlisted or inscribed on the representative list, or on the intangible cultural, on the urgent safeguarding list. This is, a fascinating ideas, how cultures, even they are distant from each other, but they can also, how intangible cultural heritage can constitute a bridge between communities that lead to social cohesion and mutual respect and understanding. Another obligation of the state parties is to contribute to the ICH fund, and we have those are the main obligations. But the first one, the main priority, is to safeguard ICH on their territory. Now, say state parties, they are competing and struggling to inscribe intangible cultural heritage on the representative list or on the urgent safeguarding list. And they think, you know, wrongly, of course, that if this inscription, if this element is inscribed, it means, you know, they think it's an ownership, you know, statement. No, this is false. This is wrong. I mean, if it is inscribed, you know, for example, I give you again the title of our element, which we have inscribed 2 or 3 years ago, a Samer in Jordan. We say not the Jordanian Samer, but we say a Samer in Jordan, because other communities in other countries, they have also the same element or similar element. That's why we are not, you know, trying to connect or relate, you know, these elements with the name of the territory. I mean, the official political name of the territory, but within, I mean, we connect it as a space, but not as, you know, as a designation, you know, that only exists in Jordan, you know. And I have witnessed a lot of problems in this regard. I mean, for example, between Azerbaijan and Armenia, you know, when the Armenians tried to inscribe the tradition and the practices of incising the cross on stones, on rocks, you know, from Nagorno-Karabakh, and there was a big you know, at that time, 2010, I was present in Nairobi. And, you know, at the end, it was not the Minister of Culture or the prime ministers who solved the problem. No, it was the presidents. I mean, the presidents of both countries who solved this problem. Because it's, you know, a matter of identity. You know, I mean, intangible cultural heritage is important as a basis of identity and social cohesion, and also, I mean, for the communities themselves, they you know, they give the value to these elements. I mean, they are the people who can give more value to these elements. It is not the inscription, not the UNESCO or any other foreign agency can give more value. We have, I mean, the communities themselves, they give the value to the intangible cultural heritage. If they say this is our heritage, we are proud of it. We are, you know, we have to make sure that it's safeguarded and transmitted to future generations. I will come now to the benefits of implementing the convention. I mean, well-being of communities. This is, you know, an indirect result of the implementation of the convention. Respect and understanding between communities and sustainable development. We are with the UNESCO with sustainable development, how to invest, not to use or use intangible cultural heritage for sustainable development. That's why I use the words invest. To invest intangible cultural heritage for sustainable development. This is a magical, you know, expression, but we are using it for example, now we are currently preparing an educational module on how to use or to invest, you know, the educational arenas and the educational context in Jordan for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage. We have taken certain examples from Jordan, and the first test will be implemented. Implementing the convention is the enhancement of cultural diversity and the human creativity. As said, you know, the cultural, I mean, for example, Jordan is a diverse country, and we are proud to have a diverse community, because it supports the human creativity. You know, that you are looking to a mosaic panel, with one color, it's boring, But if you have different color on this mosaic panel, then you feel that you are that it's a beautiful painting, or it's a beautiful panel. That's why cultural diversity is an enrichment for the society, in the country or in the state party. As for the international cooperation, we can share expertise and information internationally, for example, to safeguard certain intangible cultural heritage elements. I will give you an example. For example, Saudi Arabia inscribed an element called al-mizmar, on the representative list. This mizmar, this
هلا لينا هي رجعت سجلت.
Okay. Well, we are talking about the benefits of implementing the convention. This is the second set of the benefits. As said, I was talking about two elements that are spread, in Saudi Arabia and Hijaz area, and also in Egypt on the other side of the Red Sea. And they are, in fact, similar elements. But here in Saudi Arabia, it's called mizmar or al-mizmar. And in Egypt, it's called at-tahtib. They are similar, similar elements. Well, those both countries, in fact, benefited from the proposed safeguarding plans that have been, included in the nomination form. So that they have shared their expertise and information. Information including safeguarding practices. Also accessing assistance from the fund. We have talked about this, and also nominating elements and safeguarding projects. I'm talking about the international cooperation. There are safeguarding plans on the national level, and there are also safeguarding plans and safeguarding endeavors on the international levels. Also, the benefits, is to participate in the organs of the convention. Jordan, for example, is very active in this convention, and it is always present. Not only in the intergovernmental committee, but also in the General Assembly, including other, workshops. The Jordan cooperates with the UNESCO office in Amman. And also with the headquarters in Paris, to benefit from, to get more benefit from this convention for the Jordanian communities and their intangible cultural heritage. As for the cooperating and also for cooperation regionally and internationally, I was talking about the shared heritage. And this is also, very important. I would like to mention here that one of the elements that have been led by United Arab Emirates, which is falconry, is now, I think there are 20 countries that have, that are part of this nomination. It's a joint nomination which includes around 20 countries. Every year there is a new country which is added to the nomination. Other nominations are also, jointly. They get more, support and from the evaluating committee, evaluating body, because they represent the soul of the convention. Mutual cooperation, mutual respect, and also cooperation, which leads to the wise safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage, not only on the local level, but also on the international and national levels. Any questions so far? Are there any questions so far? Hello?
I suppose not.
Okay. Well, in conclusion, I would like to say to conclude that the convention aims at safeguarding ICH within and by communities, within the communities and by communities in a context of sustainable development and mutual respect. And it is fully involving communities in any action concerning their ICH and empowering communities. And also enhancing cultural diversity, human creativity, mutual understanding, and international cooperation. It is run by an intergovernmental committee. As I said, it contains 24 countries, controlled by the General Assembly, both assisted by the UNESCO Secretary. It has operational directives, a fund, two lists, and register of good practices. And the ratification of this convention imposes some obligations on state parties. But I have to say again that this convention is a very flexible instrument. It doesn't impose, military obligations on the state part, to if they fail to safeguard intangible cultural heritage, because it is based on communities, not only on the governments. All sectors, governmental and non-governmental, civil, and all sectors are involved in safeguarding intangible cultural heritage. It's not only the Ministry of Culture. The Ministry of Culture is dealing with administrative issues. It also deals with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, Ministry of Financial Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, etc., because it's a holistic approach. This convention requires a holistic approach in implementing it, on the national level and on the international levels. Well, I have finished the first, part of my lecture, and I will be more than happy to receive any questions. Any questions?
Well, I do.
Yeah, please.
How do you see all this fitting into the project that we are doing?
Well, I would like to say that, this project can also contribute to a new method for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage, especially on the educational level. Because we can, I think we can use the virtual reality and augmented reality to apply it on certain intangible cultural heritage elements and show and have it as a resource, educational resource for students and children, not only for adults as well, but I think this is a new arena that could be open now. A new safeguarding arena, new safeguarding possibilities can be, opened right now to use them in the future. Because I was dealing, the last 10 years with nomination forms, and none of these nomination forms, mentioned as as safeguarding plans or as proposed safeguarding plans. None of these safeguarding plans mention the issue of virtual reality or AR. And this is a good example that could be, represent a good example for future safeguarding plans, especially if we are dealing with youth, because youth is always, youth, is now, relying on electronic media. They are relying on electronic instruments, and we have to use their way, to show them how important their intangible cultural heritage is.
there is a question. What was the question in the first place? And I would like to say that the question was exactly, what does this have to do with our project? And how is the convention going to support our project? Now, in addition to what Dr. Hani has mentioned, which is very important, is that we want to promote and safeguard the intangible cultural heritage, just like we want to promote tourism to Petra by using virtual and augmented reality.
Yeah.
We also want to protect, safeguard, and promote our intangible cultural heritage. You know, tangible and intangible are often intertwined. They interact with each other. For example, the community in Petra have their own intangible cultural heritage, which interacts with the tourists, interacts with the tourism, and therefore both aspects, tangible and intangible, are important to protect. Furthermore, intangible cultural heritage can be a source of income. It can be a source of business. And today we were discussing the importance of embroidery, Jordanian and Palestinian, in this aspect. And we will come back to you on embroidery as a tool for creativity, innovation, and business investment.
Yes, Dr. Talal, thank you for your comment. But you know, I have to draw your attention and also our colleagues who in this workshop that well, we don't have to establish projects that can, you know, harm the intangible cultural heritage, you know, because of the over commercialization. We are safeguarding intangible cultural heritage for the benefit of communities, of course. And what you have mentioned is exactly what we need. I mean, for the benefit of communities, within the communities, by the communities, and within the communities, and for the benefit of their intangible cultural heritage, so that their ICH elements can be transmitted to future generations, not because of the income generation, but also for the benefit of their social identity, for the social cohesion as well. يعني بنضرب عصفورين بحجر خلينا نحكي.
Well, you want to do it in a sustainable way. You
Yes.
don't want to over-exploit
Yes.
cultural heritage, intangible cultural heritage, but certainly you want to make it beneficial to the community in a sustainable way.
Yes, this is true. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Dr. Hani?
No, I'm done now. I mean,
I think the question was, how do we tie the Convention for Intangible Cultural Heritage with the project? And as you know, the project wants to use virtual reality, augmented reality, to promote all kinds of cultural heritage, tangible and intangible. And at the same time, we want to see how we can exploit in a sustainable way. We can create jobs for people from, for example, we were shooting films and photography in a ceramics workshop, which was trying to produce replicas of Nabatean pottery. And this is one way of using crafts in order to make a sustainable living for those people who work in the workshop. So those are issues that will come back. We will come back to in the project.
Yes. Well, what was the question about? Well, I'm just looking to the chat room and okay, هذا مو سامعين مش question هذا. والهبة هارون تحكي إنه نحن بحاجة لإحياء تراث كل موقع أثري، والأهم البتراء، مش البتراء، البتراء بدون همزة، من أجل إثراء المجتمعات المحلية، ولن يتم ذلك إلا عن طريق الإعلام وبثه عالميا. Definitely, I mean, media is important, of course, you know, not only for the tangible heritage, but also for the intangible cultural heritage. And there are different ways of medias and methods and modalities that we can invest for, you know, raising about awareness about the intangible, about the cultural heritage in general. I mean, especially among the youth and, you know, young generation. Because you know, it's part of their identity and it's part of their income generation in the future, as said Dr. Talal, in relation to tourism. We have to invest, you know, our tangible and intangible cultural heritage in a sustainable way, in a wise way, for income generation, and to, you know, at the end to realize the الرفاه الاجتماعي خلينا نحكي يعني. Yeah. This is the way. I mean, it's not a matter, you know, of inscribing an element on the representative list. It's the matter of how to invest our local intangible cultural heritage and tangible cultural heritage for the benefit of our communities. Well, as I said, you know, countries, you know, different parts of the world, they are producing nomination forms for certain intangible cultural heritage to be inscribed on the representative list or on the urgent safeguarding list. But this is not the, you know, the wise way to safeguard intangible culture. It's part of it. I mean, it raises, you know, awareness. It's, you know, represents our intangible cultural heritage and our contribution to the human, our creativity to the human, to the humanities. But again, we have to take care of our communities and how to invest it in different ways, not only virtual reality or augmented reality, but also in different ways for the benefit of our local communities and groups and individuals. I say individuals because some intangible cultural heritage elements are, you know, represented by one individual. And maybe it's not the time now. I mean, it goes beyond this lecture to mention some of those who are human treasures and should be taken care. So to teach, you know, new generation, and they are individuals, but they own their own expertise and their own, you know, their own knowledge and skills, which must be disseminated among the, I mean, it should be disseminated vertically and horizontally. Yeah. Well, البتراء عند الآثاريين. I don't know if this. Okay, هذا تعليق على. It's a comment about the pronunciation of Petra. البتراء. Okay, بقرأها هلا زي ما هي مكتوبة. البتراء عند الآثاريين تلفظ إما عند تلفظ. يبدو أن الكتاب مش مضبوطة. أوكي، هي المتعارف عليها البتراء، ولكن يعني هذه مأخوذة من جذر بترة، وجذر بترة معناها قطعة، ولكن الإتيمولوجي الصحيح لموقع البترا اللي هو بترا، ماشي، معنى انتم عارفين معناها يعني، ماشي. فليس البتراء، هي هذه كلمة عربت، ماشي، كلمة يعني أصبحت ألبست بلباس عربي، بلباس اللغة العربية، وهذا في الواقع خطأ شائع. فالبتراء معناها المقطوعة التي لا نسل لها، ولكن أنتم تعرفون معناها الأصلي. مس نرمين مرجي طرحت سؤال: How in your opinion is this being tackled and how can it be approached؟ هلا ما بعرف عن ايش.
في ملاحظة قبل.
اوكي.
اللي هي one of the challenges.
One of the challenges in creating virtual content for VR and AR experiences relates to this digitalization of intangible aspects, taking take intangible cultural heritage, for example. Yeah. Yeah, of course, this is, this is a very a new approach, and this is I am not a specialist in this regard, by the way, but I'm expecting, I have read some articles about this, about such, implementation in other countries. But my remark on these articles that they are focusing on tourism mainly, but I would like to use this approach and VR and AR. I mean, as a new approach to safeguard intangible cultural heritage, not only for tourism, but also for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage in general. I mean, this is a new approach, and I cannot, I'm not knowledgeable about the VR. I mean, I have, little knowledge, but, I'm not the expert in this.
Well,
Yeah.
we must admit that this is a multidisciplinary
Yes.
action.
Yeah. Yeah.
And therefore, your expertise in terms of the knowledge about intangible heritage is important. And when you say you want to safeguard ICH, you are the best man to tell us how to safeguard it. And
Yes,
but also please remember that these workshops are designed in order in the end to create jobs for communities.
Yes.
And also to create investments in many useful and sustainable ways. I'd like, now that we have come to this point, I'd like to mention that there are businesses built on, for example, embroidery. And what people do is they put those embroideries on the website for people to buy, to purchase. And if that helps somehow the communities, after all, what good is intangible cultural heritage if people are starving or are poor? So we need to make a sustainable way, and that's where you come in. You don't have to know how to do virtual.
Yeah, this is true. Yes, I mean, it's not my field, but I can,
sustainability of ICH is your field.
Yeah, of course, but
that's why you are leading this workshop.
What I would like to say that I can, theorize, give a theory about it, and it's and maybe the specialist can,
there are other people who will implement proposals and suggestions. And we also will consult the people who attend the workshops, because their opinion matters, not necessarily only as experts, but also as possible users or beneficiaries, people who will benefit from intangible heritage.
Well, maybe after the end of this project, I mean, if this complies with the requirements of the register of good practices, I mean, we may also propose to have this project or its results, as a good practice. I mean, maybe we may submit a nomination file to the UNESCO as a result from this project, because it's an innovative approach. I have to say, it's an innovative approach. And it could be, accepted to be listed or to be registered on the on this register, register of good practices for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage, because this is a new approach, in fact, and we have to pay attention to this from the beginning.
For example, one possibility is that if you have embroidery and young people are not getting interested in it because fewer and fewer people are putting, on the usual villager dresses, which are nicely embroidered and beautiful. So when you have fewer and fewer people dressing this, people tend to lose interest in making embroideries, and hence we lose a very important craft.
Yes. In fact, we are indirectly raising awareness also. Exactly. I mean,
Aldana Salamian from the OA is asking you a question.
Yeah, where's her question?
you raise the slider and you will see it. اطلع لفوق دكتور.
هبة هارون. اوكي
بعد نرمين.
هو في أسئلة كتير. اوكي دانا, thank you for this valuable presentation. Thank you. Do we have in Jordan a guidebook for the field of work on documenting the intangible culture? It is a very good question. Like how to ask people and how to deal with the locals, etc. There is a similar guidebook in Egypt, by the way. No, I mean, we have, I am a trainer for this subject, by the way. I mean, the training workshop, which I conducted several times in the Arab world, including Jordan, Dana, Mashi. I mean, maybe 2 times or 3 times we conducted in community-based inventorying in Jordan. Our first community-based inventorying took place in 2012 in Madaba Governorate. And maybe Diala is here with us, from the Ministry of Culture, and that was the first community-based inventorying on the basis of the 2003 convention. We have, I mean, a guidebook, the Egyptian one. By the way, I trained the Egyptians on inventorying intangible cultural heritage. And their guidebook is not based, I know this guidebook, but it's not based on the convention. Now we have a new approach. We have a new methodology for inventorying intangible cultural heritage, which is based on community involvement. I mean, previously, universities, researchers went to the communities and they documented their intangible cultural heritage, but they didn't take care of the communities. Now, according to this approach, I mean, the community-based inventorying, we usually train the communities or representatives of the communities how to inventory their intangible cultural heritage on a participatory approach, because it's their own intangible cultural heritage. They know its secrets. They know what could be presented in the inventory, which will be housed later on in the Ministry of Culture, And no, we don't have a guidebook right now. No country in the Arab world has a guidebook, on the basis of convention. We are using the training material of the UNESCO, the capacity building team, and I am proud to be part of the worldwide capacity building team of intangible cultural heritage. We are more than now, I mean, the facilitators in the Arab world, they are now, they are increasing. I mean, 2 years ago, we trained 20 young people in Wajda to be new trainers for intangible cultural heritage. And well, we are using our own methodology. And if you take part in one of these inventories, in these workshops, you will get the right information and you will get the right methodology, how to deal with the people, how to create a kind of dynamism with the people, on how to get information, how to get to access their intangible cultural heritage, if they allow you, of course. I mean, this workshop is, it takes around 10 days, 6 days of theoretical, and then practicum, which takes for around 4 days. And I think we have conducted in Jordan 3 times in Jordan, maybe more, in fact, I think maybe more, in Karak, in Zarqa, and in Irbid. Now there will be a new project in Irbid. Well, maybe it will start in a few months. Well, in fact, no, we have conducted several workshops on community-based inventorying, and we may consider you in the future to be part of one of those projects, of those inventory, of those workshops. Well, there's from Miss Hiba Harun, her question: التسويق السياحي مهم للأردن ونحن بحاجة لدخول هذا السوق وبقوة مثل مصر. السياحة مرتبطة بالتراث والمواقع الأثري. طبعا هذه حقيقة لا مفر منها. نحن نستخدم التراث الثقافي وخاصة المادية منه في عملية السياحة، ويعني هذا مصدرنا، الريفينيو تبعنا من السياحة يعني المفروض يرتفع بلا شك، ولكن علينا أن نرسم استراتيجيات واضحة واستراتيجيات يعني حكيمة أيضا وليست عشوائية وذات بعد مستدام مستقبلا، لكي نستفيد من السياحة، لكي نستفيد من التراث أو نستثمر التراث من أجل إدرار الدخل، وبالتالي يعود بذلك بالرفاه الاجتماعي على المجتمع الأردني. مصر طبعا لا تقارن، لأن مصر لها بعد وتاريخ يعني عريق في السياحة، يعني منذ نابليون وحتى الآن كونوا تراث سياحي يعود إلى فكرة الاستشراق والعرب وغير ذلك. كل هذه دخلت في الروايات الغربية، فأي قارئ لرواية عن المشرق العربي فإنه دائما فهو يعني تذكر مصر وأهرامات مصر والخفايا والأسرار التي تحتري الأهرامات والمقابر وادي الملوك وغيرها. فهؤلاء يعني نحن لم نكون هذا الأدب بعد، يعني في الأردن للأسف لم نكون هذا الأدب بعد لكي يعني نستجلب السائحين يعني بناء على ذلك الأدب السياحي. مصر طبعا لا تقارن، يعني هي من الدول الأولى في العالم بالنسبة للقطاع السياحي، ويمكن استغلاله أو استثماره بشكل أفضل. ونحن في الأردن لدينا من العقول والإمكانيات التي تمكننا من رسم سياسات حكيمة من أجل الاستفادة من التراث بشقيه المادي وغير المادي للسياحة وأيضا لفائدة المجتمعات الأردنية. Well, Dana says, Dana says, I would love to participate for sure. Thank you, ahlan wa sahlan. We will consider that, but I am not the decision maker. I will recommend maybe.
No, Dana is a partner in the project.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know Dana. Yeah, I know Dana, of course.
Participate in the workshops, and if she wants the training.
Yeah, definitely.
There is no.
No, yeah, of course, yes.
Everyone in this workshop is allowed to participate.
No, I don't mean this workshop, Dr. Talal, but I mean the inventorying workshops that we are, conducting in Jordan, maybe in the future. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
But this project is also about inventorying in a way.
Yeah.
Creating this.
Yeah, of course. إن شاء الله هذا راح يكون يعني establishing such a center is really the peak of this project, and I hope that we can succeed in establishing such a category 5 UNESCO category 5 center, and we will see. Well, Hiba also comments that we نستطيع يا سيدي يا سيدتي تكوين هذا الأدب السياحي بالاعتماد على الأسطورة المتمثلة بمدن الديكابوليس والبتراء. ليش هي أسطورة يعني؟ ما هي مش أسطورة، ما في بتراء وفي مدن الديكابوليس. فبالتأكيد يعني إنه هذا طبعا أوكي. بالتأكيد يعني هذا يرجع إلى يعني هو هلا الآن هذا صعب جدا ماشي، لأنه إحنا يعني نعيش عالم واقعي. يعني هلا الأدبيات اللي نشأت على الآثار المصرية واللي نشأ عنها الأفلام وغير ذلك، كليوباترا والأسرار الأهرامات وغيرها، يعني لا أعتقد أن هذا ممكن الآن أن يقام من جديد، يعني أن يكتب أحد مثلا حول، إلا إذا كان أدب متخيل يعني ماشي. بس هم عادة المستشرقين كتبوا عن الآثار المصرية وكتبوا عن الأدب المصري والتراث المصري، فهذا يعني كان مدعاة ومثار للأجانب حتى للأطفال منهم بأن يبحثوا عن مصر ويذهبوا إليها. يعني لماذا لا يذهبون إلى السودان مثلا؟ لأن مصر يعني تاريخيا مشهورة ولها عمق تاريخي، حضارة مصرية قديمة ولها عمق واتساع تاريخي وأثر في العالم القديم. فيعني هذه تراكمات كلها يعني زادت بالنسبة السياح إلى مصر طبعا. نعم، هل من أسئلة أخرى؟ Are there any questions?
الحقيقة في موضوع التوقيت تاع الاجتماعات طلبنا إنه الجميع يحاول يعبي النموذج. هلا لحد الآن عم نكتشف إنه اليوم المفضل للأسف على الرغم من أنه عدة أشخاص اعترضوا على نهار الجمعة، اليوم المفضل هو الجمعة عند معظم
أيوة.
كان في قديش نرمين 33 شخص أو 40 شخص؟
يس عدد كبير يعني الأغلبية
40 شخص أو حتى 53 من اللي قدموا أو عبوا الاستمارة بنجد إنه أكثرهم بفضلوا نهار الجمعة. هلا أنا عندي رأي إنه نهار الجمعة طبعا تقلكم شو سألنا مثلا شو رأيك الأحد، شو رأيك السبت، حطينا الساعة 4:30 5:30 6:30 4:30 5:30 6:30 الجمعة السبت الأحد. طيب أي يوم آخر هل بتحب؟ كان أسوأ إشي خيار أي يوم آخر. طبعا إيش أي ساعة كانت مفضلة نرمين بالله؟
هلا بالجمعة فضلوا المسويات يعني 6:30 الجمعة
6:30 which
Yes.
could be a good idea، يعني منأخر الوقت شوية لأنه نهار الجمعة يوم راحة، يوم اتصال مع العائلة، كلنا يعني بنلتقي بالعائلة نهار الجمعة لما دام ما فيش بتعرف شغل وعمل وكذا، يوم راحة. لكن إذا أجلنا لل6:30 قد يكون هذا مناسب لكتير ناس. هلا في وقت آخر إحنا ما حكينا فيه، نهار السبت الساعة 11. شو رأيكم فيه؟ أنا رأيي يلي بيعجبه نهار السبت الساعة 11 طبعا بنضيفه للقائمة الموجودة، لكن هلا اللي بفضل نهار السبت الساعة 11 أو عنده ما عنده مانع إنه يشتغل أو يحضر الورك شوب بالساعة 11، يفتح الميكروفون، ما تحكوا إشي بس افتحوا الميكروفون تنشوف قديش عدد الأشخاص اللي ممكن يحضروا نهار السبت. السبت الساعة 11 مش يعني هيتينيا، لا مش كتير يعني محبذ. اوكي اذا بدنا نضلنا على الاوقات الماضيه. طبعا ايضا بدي اقول لكم انه رح نعمل برضه السبت الساعه 6:30 اذا بتحبوا، لانه بنحتاج على الاقل يومين. كمان بدي اقول شغله انه بدنا نضيف ايام. هلا انا بفضل ما نضيف ايام بالعمق، يعني انه مثلا بعد اظن اخر يوم بورشنا هو ب1 شباط وبعديها بنبلش التدريب. ما بدي انه يتعارض الورش مع التدريب. لذلك ما رأيكم انه بعض الايام لازم نحط بنصف الجمعة، مثلا نهار الاربعاء الساعة 6:30، ما بنقدر كليا نتخلى عن هذه الايام. فاذا عندنا الجمعة والسبت 6:30، وبعض الاحيان في اثناء ايام الجمعة العادية كمان بدنا نحط 6:30 على الاقل يوم مثلا باثناء الجمعة العادية. اوكي
دكتور.
اي تعليقات او اسئلة اخرى؟ هنالك بعض الناس اللي بعدهم بيعتقدوا او يعني صاروا بيعرفوا عن المشروع بس مش شايفين كيف راح بيستفيدوا من هذه المشاريع. فاحنا طلبنا من الدكتور خالد، هو تبرع، خالد خريسات تبرع انه يحط تصور يفرجي كيف انت تستطيع انك تستفيد من المشروع، سواء كنت شخص عادي ممكن يكون عندك وظيفة بدك تطورها، أو ما عندك عمل بدك تلاقي عمل، أو إذا كنت شركة بتحب تطور استثماراتها وشغلها وإلى آخره. فبجميع الأحوال رح نحاول إن نتطرق لهاي الأمور من خلال محاضرات من الدكتور خالد، على الأقل محاضرة أو تنتين
إن شاء الله دكتور.
نعم. أي شيء تاني بتحبوا نحكي فيه؟ طيب إذا بشكركم جميعا على الحضور، وبعد إذن الدكتور هاني بدنا نتوقف اليوم.
على أكيد دكتور.
أوكي.
وشكرا كمان، أنا بشكركم دكتور وبشكر الحضور على حسن إصغائهم وعلى الأسئلة الجميلة جدا اللي طرحوها، وإن شاء الله يعني بنكون ذوي فائدة للمشروع هذا وللزملاء كمان. وكمان هذا مجال للتوعية كمان بالاتفاقية، لأنه كثير من المعنيين بالتراث في الأردن قد يجهلون هذه الاتفاقية في الواقع، وهي في الواقع مهمة جدا.
طبعا. وكمان بدي أقول إنه يعني اليوم كان في غلطة الحقيقة، كان لازم نخبركم بالاجتماع امبارح، أنا آسف على هذا. لكن كمان أيضا إذا أنتم بتعرفوا زملاء اشتركوا معنا مش عم بيحضروا، أرجو إنكم تشجعوهم، وراح أعلن الأوقات زي ما أعلنا عن الخطة تاع يعني حضرنا خطة للمحاضرات والتوقيت، راح أغير الأوقات بشكل يناسب أكثر زي ما اتفقنا، وإن شاء الله إنه الحضور بيزيد علشان تعم الفائدة وتصبح في منها فائدة أكثر
إن شاء الله.
أوكي، شكرا جزيلا، تسلموا جميعكم.
تصبحوا على خير.
أهلا، تصبحوا على خير.
يعطيكم العافية.
أهلا.